Hey everybody, welcome back to Mixing Music Analog and mixingmusicanalog.com and here on our YouTube channel. And we are back with another video, Dave and Dave.
Hi.
And we are going to do today, we're going to compare sound example of the SSL Fusion hardware against the SSL Fusion plugin bundle. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to listen to this on each individual module and compare it one-to-one, and then we're going to listen to the whole unit and compare that one-to-one so you can hear the difference between the hardware and the plugins. Now, if you want to see a full review on the plugins in and of themselves on each individual module, you want to head on over to Home Recording Made Easy, that YouTube channel. Link will be in the description box, where I broke down every single module and then did a video with all the modules together. We're not going to teach you how to use the modules in this video. We're just going to compare the sounds between the hardware and the plugins. But before we get going, if you like what you see in the video, please consider subscribing and also hit the notification bell so you know when we post new videos. Also, make sure in the description box below you check out all of Dave's links to his website, his Instagram, and his YouTube channel will all be down below. Go check out what he's doing over there. He's got some cool stuff happening. And I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Okay, so here's what we got going on here. So we'll bring up Studio One here so you can see the screen. Here's all the pretty plugins that we're going to talk about, and we can, well, we'll use this camera now in front of us. So we have all the modules here. I'm going to close them all down here, and I'm going to show you how we have this set up to try to do a comparison as fair as humanly possible. We also have a camera on the actual Fusion in the rack, which somewhere on the screen in this video will come up. We set the Fusion up with the settings on the hardware, didn't change them, and then we matched all the plugins to it. So what we have here in green is we have this about a minute of the song Going Down by Barry Dreiger. This track in green was a mix that was done with all plugins, all in the box over our mixingmadeeasy.net mixing training website, which again, you can check the link in the description box below. If you want to learn about mixing with plugins in the box, that's the website you want to go check out. This is one of the songs that we did in January of 2022. I mixed this song just using stock plugins with a little bit of master bus compression. That is it. We used this track and we ran it through the console on two faders on the console here. It ran it through the Fusion hardware, turning on each individual module, and we reprinted it 5 times because there's 5 modules here in the SSL Fusion. We have our vintage drive. So we ran the song through just the vintage drive. Then we reprinted it again, turned off the vintage drive, just turned on the EQ, then ran it through a 3rd time, turned off the EQ, just turned on the compressor, so on and so forth. So each one of these print tracks only has one of the hardware modules on it. Then the last print track we did, we turned all the modules on so you get the full Fusion on the audio, which is the last one here, says full Fusion. Then on the green track here, you look, we put all the plugins on and we put them on in the same order that follows the hardware. So it starts off with the vintage drive. That's the first section of the hardware it would hit. Then it goes over to the Violet EQ, then the high frequency compressor, then the stereo imager, and then it hits the transformer. And all the settings on the plugins are identical to the way we set them up on the hardware. Now, the only caveat when we get to a couple of these modules is some of these plugins have a couple of extra features that are not part of the hardware. There's only a couple, and we kind of just left those alone. We didn't touch them because there was no way to compare it to the hardware because the hardware doesn't have those controls. Right? So far, I got it so far.
And we also level matched each plugin module to the hardware track. And then we level match the full Fusion to all the modules on. So
right.
So that way, hopefully everything stays as level matched as possible. And there's not going to be any major volume jumps. So we don't want anything to color your perception of what's happening.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of these modules. So I'm going to turn off. We're going to start with the vintage drive. The vintage drive is the first section here. So when we're listening to the green track here, and what you're going to need to do on your end, your homework is you're going to keep your eye on the solo button. So when we're on the green track, this is just the plugin with the vintage drive. Here's the first one. And then when we go to the first red track, this is the hardware. Oops, this was the actual print track of the hardware with the vintage drive on it. So you'll see up here, if you look at the titles, the first one is vintage drive, HW means hardware. Then the second one is EQ hardware. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll talk you through it. So we're going to leave this up on the screen. You will see an image of the actual Fusion come up somewhere on the screen, and we'll leave that on throughout the video as much as we possibly can. So we can do that. So now if we just play this back, and it's just one little section of music here, we're going to switch between the green track, which is the vintage drive only, all the other plugins are turned off, to the red track, which is the hardware's vintage drive. Back to the green track, plug-in vintage drive, hardware vintage drive. Right, got it. Pretty straightforward, right?
Just to clarify, though, the hardware tracks are printed in. The Fusion, as you're listening to this, the Fusion is not actually working.
It's not actually working. So when you're looking at the Fusion on the screen, the actual hardware, you're not hearing any of that. It's bypassed on the board, and he actually bypassed it on the unit itself. So all of this has already been printed back into Studio One. Okay, so we're only leaving the hardware up on the screen so you can see that the settings that we use between the plugin and the hardware are the same, okay? So let's just listen back to this and keep your eye on the solo button, and then at the end, we'll kind of give you some commentary on what we hear. And again, I'll timestamp all of this in the description box, so if this is too long of a video for you, we're gonna try to conversate through this so we can kind of give you our opinions of what we're hearing in the room, because it always is a little different than what's over YouTube. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with the plugin, and then we're going to switch over to the hardware. We'll go back and forth. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around. Okay, so what do you hear, Dave? What do you hear first?
The thing that jumped out at me right away is that on the hardware, I'm hearing the reverbs more.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm hearing more reverb. I definitely, as usual with hardware, there's just more dimension to the sound overall than with the plugin. But I think the most audible difference that I heard immediately was I'm hearing the reverbs more.
Okay.
On the hardware than I am on the plugin.
Interesting. Okay, so what I didn't notice that as much, but what I hear is the hardware is a little bit more bottom heavy. I hear a little bit more thickness in the bottom, maybe a little bit more saturation. The plugin sounds a little bit thinner to me, and that's not that it's thin, but it doesn't have that little oomphiness on the bottom. So now that you guys kind of heard what we think, let's play that back again, and then maybe over YouTube you can focus on the reverbs and focus on the bottom end, and let's see if you can hear what we're talking about here. So again, we're going to start with the plugin, and then we're going to go over to the hardware. Keep your eye on the solo button. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. Okay, so that's what I'll be now. And just so everyone knows, when you're looking at the plugin, you're going to see the output turned down on each one of these plugins because we wanted to level match it to the hardware the best we possibly could. And in the room, it sounds like it's level matched.
It's close enough for us.
Yeah, it's really extremely close. So yeah, so now that you pointed out the reverb, I hear what you're saying a little bit about the reverb a little bit. I hear it a little bit. I don't know if it's wider or if it's a little bit deeper, but there's definitely an image shift just a little bit to me. But it's really close.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll say.
So they're a lot closer than I thought it was going to be right from the start. I mean, right from the first module, it's closer than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But it always comes back to the dimension of hardware.
Right, and we'll hear that when we get to the end. We hear the whole unit with all the modules on and off. We'll see what that accumulative effect stacks up to. Each individual module, I think the differences are going to be a little more subtle. But the plugin, I mean, it's really a really good representation of it.
They did a good job.
It sounds like the Fusion. There's no doubt about that.
They definitely did a good job.
So now that's the vintage drive. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the vintage drive and we're going to go to the second module, which is the Violet EQ. We'll turn that on here, and we're going to do the same thing. So Violet EQ.
That's track number. That's the third track over now.
Yep, you got it right. It's going to be this track here. As a matter of fact, what I should do is maybe change a few of these colors so they're not all exactly the same, just so people can maybe focus in a little bit, maybe focus a little bit more with their.
There you go.
There we go, and then we'll make this a little bit darker, maybe blue, and maybe make this one go to a dark lime green, and then the full Fusion will make something like that. Okay, there you go. So you're looking at, you're going to be looking at the purple versus the green. Okay, so here's the Violet EQ. We'll start with the plugin, and then we will move over to the hardware. Here we go.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
Okay, what do you hear there?
I hear a lot more top end out of the hardware.
Yeah, a lot more top end for sure.
A lot more top end out of the hardware. Again, dimensionality, but a lot more top end. The plug-in compared to the hardware sounds muffled.
Yeah, that's a good word. So it sounds a little more muddy or muffled. And to me, I feel like the hardware it just seems wider. There's certainly a width thing that's happening there now. It could maybe be some perception because there's a little more brightness, but it definitely sounded like it almost pushed out like this.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, in a very noticeable way. That's not subtle.
Really noticeable. Now, what we could do, I don't know if it's a volume thing. We could on the plug-in, we could bring it back up a little because the hardware. You could say maybe because it's a little bit more top end, it may proceed to be a little bit louder.
Yeah, give it a half a dB.
Yeah, just to see if there's any difference there. So now let's go back to the plugin and let's try that again. And then we'll keep your eye on the purple track because that will be the hardware. Starting with the plugin.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
So,
Okay,
yeah, there you go.
that definitely made them closer.
A little bit closer, yeah.
A little bit closer. Again, I think that the hardware has a little bit more top end to it, but the volume shift definitely brought them a little bit closer.
Yep.
The plug-in is definitely holding its own there.
Holding its own, yeah. I still feel like his vocal is a little bit more open. I feel like there's a little bit more openness to his vocal with the hardware. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But again, really close. I mean, really close, right?
What does the fat switch do on the plug-in?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. I'll just pull the fat switch in and out. We'll just see what it does because this is one of those controls that you don't have
the
on hardware.
doesn't have,
So let's just go back to the plug-in. Let's just see what the fat switch does.
I'm going down,
It adds more low end for sure.
Yeah, it actually,
So-
actually, I thought it made them closer.
Yeah, look, now to me the hardware seems like it's a little bit thicker for sure.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the plug-in.
Yeah,
So you got that little fat switch there. So again, you have a little bit more control, which is cool. But we're leaving it out because the hardware doesn't have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, so
It's a cool
that's-
feature.
cool feature, right?
That just made the plug-in a little more interesting.
So now the next one is the high frequency compressor. And that is going to be on this red track here. So we're going to start there and then we're going to go to this track here. Okay. Oops. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. So let's start with the plug-in. We'll hear what the high frequency compressor does.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
What do you got there?
They're close.
Yep.
They are really close.
Yeah.
The hardware has a little bit more sparkle to it, but they're really close.
Yeah, really close. And the only thing I hear, again, we don't have a track here with like, with a sibilant vocal or real splashy cymbals where the high frequency compressor reacts a little bit more, although we do have some compression going on here. The tonality of the snare changes just ever so slightly, but again, this is the closest one of the three as far as plug-in the hardware. It's really, really close. So
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds good. It's almost, 6-1.
That's literally, you wouldn't want to live on the difference there.
Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, so
They are really close.
So now we're going to the stereo imager, and we're going to do that. And so here we go. So that'll be the blue track here for the hardware. So let's start on the plugin. Got to enable it. There we go. And we're going to be keeping our eye on the solo button on the blue track. So here is what the stereo image is doing.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
What do you got there?
They're identical.
Yeah, they're almost.
They are dead on identical.
They're almost indistinguishable between those two. Really, really good. So the plugin sounds just like. Now the plugin has this shuffle knob, which really, again, it acts with the space knob in a way. I'll twist it around so you can kind of hear what it does. It kind of works with the sides and the low end a little bit, but let's give it I'll give you a listen to what that does.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but
So it basically gives you a 40 to a 400 40 hertz to 400 hertz, and it just works with what's going on in the sides, So again, it's almost impossible to hear the difference there.
Yeah,
So
it's inconsequential.
and you can go see the Home Recording Made Easy YouTube video where we kind of break this down a little bit further.
Yeah, that thing's inconsequential.
So there's the stereo image. Now the last one is the transformer. Let's disable this. So now we have the transformer, which is just simply on the hardware a button, you press it and out. There's no controls. On here you have a shine, which can add a little bit more top end, which we're just going to leave at its default setting because the hardware doesn't have that. And you have the amount, we're going to leave it 100% because you could press this harder or you could push more signal in if you want. Again, the hardware is just hit it in, hit it out. There's no control. So a little bit more flexibility here with the plugin. So again, this is going to be the green track here for the hardware, just so everyone's keeping score at home. Okay, so we'll start with the plugin and then we will go to the hardware. Here we go. Keep your eye on the 2 green tracks, solos.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
What do you hear there, Dave?
The hardware's a little warmer.
A little warmer. See, I think the plugin's a little warmer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Okay,
different.
well, listen again.
That's interesting. Play that again.
Let's play it again. And then what I'll do is, well, we got this low frequency extender here on the plugin. We can check that out just to see what that does. And I'll also twist the shine button just so people can hear what that does.
Yep.
So here we're on the plugin.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's close.
Really, really
though.
close.
It's
And
really
so the
close.
shine adds more shine.
Yep.
The low frequency extender gives it a little bit more bump on the bottom. So you got a little bit, good, great module, great
Yeah,
module.
they did it again. Yeah.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn all of them on and we're going to compare that to the full on. If you had all the modules in, what would happen? And then we're going to go back and forth between the full on plugin, if you used it the way the hardware's kind of set up, to the hardware, which is the last track here in this blue color. So we'll start off here in green, and then we'll be going over to the last track in blue. And if the volume's off a little bit, we'll level match the plugin, but we think we did a pretty good job. We'll see. Here we go. Here's the plugin.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck. I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down, down on my luck.
What do you hear there? Oops.
The hardware is warmer, definitely heavier on the bottom. The plugins at that setting, I wouldn't necessarily term it harsh, but it's getting there.
A little bit more present for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely more present.
Right.
Space-wise, the hardware definitely feels like it's wider and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not talking a huge amount of difference there, but yeah, I think the hardware is as hardware always seems to be for us. There's more dimension to the hardware. But in this case, the hardware is definitely more bottom-heavy, warmer. Not badly so, but definitely more bottom end. And the plugins feel just a little bit edgier, you know, edging towards harshness and presence, you know?
Yeah, so I agree. So I think the plugins with these settings, not that you couldn't tweak these back, you could adjust that shine knob and turn down some of that harshness, but just, I wouldn't say harshness is not the right word. The presence is a little bit too present. It's not brittle or harsh or ear, you know, fatigue.
Yeah, like I said, it's edging that way.
It's edging that way. The hardware to me sounds more rich.
Yeah.
It sounds more finished to me. Whenever we get into the cumulative effect of these things, it feels like, again, when I hear the plugin, I almost hear like everything is linear, like right in front of me this way. And I always feel the hardware is a little wider and a little more pushed back. It always seems to have that 3-dimension thing that the plugin always seems to come up just a tad bit short. Now, on each individual module, you go, well, I really don't hear that much of a difference, if any, right?
Yeah.
But when you put them all together, it seems like it's a more obvious difference. Now, again, to that presence thing, I could turn down this shine a little bit on the plugin, and let's just see again how that works. Just, you know, we're here.
Yeah.
Let's try it. So let's listen to it again now that I've kind of darkened up maybe the
And
transformer.
I would say try that and then maybe go into the Violet EQ and
see what that does.
tweak that a little bit
Okay,
too.
let's see.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up. I'm going down on my luck.
So it's a little bit closer now, but I still hear it in the snares where I hear it. And the plug-in, the snare seems thinner to me. The snare seems a little bit more
I'm
meaty.
hearing it more in the hi-hat myself.
A little more in the hi-hat.
Yeah, I'm hearing the hi-hat's definitely a lot more present.
So we have on the hardware about 6 dB of shine here on top. So on this Violet EQ, if we went back a few dB, let's just try that. And let's just see, we'll start with the plugins again. So we took the Violet EQ on the plugin and we turned it back a few dB. Now it's not set the way the hardware was set, but let's just see what it sounds like.
And now we're seeing if we can match the hardware.
Yeah.
I'm going down, Lord, I'm going fast. This broken heart ain't gonna last. I would turn it around, but I can't get up.
It's a depth thing.
It's
That's
definitely-
right.
yeah, it's all about depth.
Tonality wise, it sounds much closer now. Again, you could tweak this plugin, you know, a million ways to Sunday to make it tonality wise sound identical to hardware, but you know, that's not really the point, but you can. But it always, there's a richness and there's a depth to this, to the hardware, that just the plugins come up just a little bit short. And again, it's not miles short, but in the room, and again, how this comes across on YouTube, who the hell knows, but in the room,
I mean,
it's there.
yeah,
it's definitely there.
if you're listening to this on headphones,
You could
you're
probably-
not.
yeah.
I don't know if you're going to necessarily hear what we're hearing, but like if you're on a decent set of monitors at a good listening volume, not like loud, but at a decent listening volume, there should be a depth change in the sound in your room. But I think if you're doing it on headphones or if you're doing it on cheaper speakers, you're not going to hear that difference at all.
No, yeah. If you listen to it on an iPhone or something, forget it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna, you know.
Like even just a set of like computer monitor speakers.
No, probably not.
You're probably
no.
not going to hear the difference as
Yeah.
much, if at all.
You'll hear if we took no fusion, but you're not going to hear the real big differences between the two here. But now, so let's listen to that one last time here. So again, we'll start with the plugin, and then we'll go to the hardware, which is the last track on the right. Oops.
I'm going down on my luck. I'm going
So again, to me, it's
Yeah.
more of a depth thing. Again,
And
it's not miles off. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty close.
You know, what I noticed on that playthrough too is like the piano on the plugins, the piano just kind of leaps
Yeah.
a little bit more than
Yeah.
the hardware. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it seems to be almost like a frequency dependent thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like it's like at certain like in the upper mids, the hardware seems to be smoothing them out a little
Yep.
more,
Yep.
and the plugins are pushing it forward.
Yeah, it seems like it's up more forward and
Yeah.
linear. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, that's where I think the depth. I don't know that the hardware sinks it backwards, but it seems like it's more three-dimensional to me. Again, just a little. But the plugins are really good. I mean, they sound very similar.
They're very good.
They're very good. They're excellent plugins. So what we talked about on the other YouTube channel, Home Recording Made Easy, again, if you want to see all these demoed out, one of the things I kept saying over and over again is here's the thing with this, is that this particular plugin package, now you could buy the modules separately, and they're about $200 US dollars as of the recording of this video. So you're talking about $1,000, right?
Yes.
2 times 5, $1,000 for these plugins. If you just want the plugins. Now, if you bought the hardware is $2,800. So, I mean, I get why they priced them at what they priced them at, because it's a third of the price. I get it.
Yep.
And I said in all those other videos that these are way overpriced in the plugin market. I think they are.
I agree. They are way overpriced.
They sound really good.
Yeah.
They sound really close to the hardware, and with the few extra features and the little tweakability, you can make it sound like that hardware 95 to 98% of the way there. Right?
Close enough, for sure.
Close enough for rock and roll, as we say. And the good thing about the plugins, if you're looking for the pros, because again, just because we're an analog YouTube channel, again, we're unbiased here, we're fair and we're balanced. We don't give a crap which one you buy or not buy, but we're trying to.
Yeah, you spend your money.
Yeah,
you know?
we're just trying to give you our opinion.
Yeah.
But the positives of the plugin is the plugin you could put on more than just your master bus, which is how we tested it here, because that's how you would use the Fusion, but the hardware. But you could put these on all your tracks. You could put that transformer plugin on every single one of your tracks, or just your buses.
Yeah.
You could put that Violet EQ. You could sprinkle it around. You could put a lot of fusions in your mix if that's how you want to do it. You can't do that with hardware. So there's a benefit to that if you're thinking about that. But here's the other thing about hardware versus software or plugins. Again, just giving another point of fact. Yes, the hardware's $2,800, but if I sold that hardware a year from now, there's value there. When you have a piece of hardware, it retains its value, or in some cases, depending on what you buy, goes up in value,
Yep.
right? Well, I mean, again, when I bought that Fusion, I paid $2,200 for it. It's $2,800 now, right? Once you buy the plugins, they're, it's like driving a brand new car off the lot.
Yeah. They're well, the thing with the plugin, like very few. I mean, you can't sell your licenses to somebody else.
Oh, I guess you could, yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna pay full price for somebody else's license.
Right.
It's the same as anything else. But my thing with it too is it's $1,000 for 5 plugins.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And,
Pardon me, it's a lot.
When you break it down like that, I mean, like I said, like the transformer plugin. I mean, you can buy a True Iron for $40, $50 bucks.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I mean, like you can buy EQs for $30, $40. You can buy each one of those.
Right.
I mean, hell, Isotope has a spatial thing for free.
That's right.
Well,
here's the other thing too. You can buy for $500. You can buy the Isotope Ozone 9 standard version, for $500.
Yeah.
And you get a stereo widener. You get all the vintage.
Yeah.
You have all the modules there. It's a mastering, mixing, mastering program. Fantastic.
Yeah. And you can probably
for
get
half
right
the price
to
of this, and you can get really, really close.
Yeah.
I think I don't see anybody buying the Fusion as just I don't see anyone just saying, let me just buy the high frequency compressor. To me, that would be a waste.
Yeah.
Because as you heard in the individual modules, there's not much of a difference.
Yeah.
So to spend $200 on the high frequency compressor seems kind of silly.
Yeah, that to me too. That's my problem with it. It's
Right.
like when you can buy a compressor plugin for $40. I mean.
Yeah, right. So you would buy this as a package if you were going. If you were so inclined to do it, you'd buy all 5.
I mean, listen,
right?
if they, honest to God, after sitting here doing this, if they were selling the 5 modules in a package for $200, I'd go home and buy it.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
For $200, I'd buy it. But you want me to spend $200 on each module? If I'm going to spend $1,000 on the plugins, I'm just going to go buy the unit. I'm sorry. For the way I would use it, I would go by the
Right,
unit.
right. Everybody's use case is going to be different, but yeah, I would even be willing to say it'd be a stretch. But even if this was $4.99 for all the plugins, I'd go, okay. Here's the thing: if you like the Fusion, you like the sound of the SSL Fusion, you can't spring for the hardware, or you want flexibility to be able to put plugins on multiple tracks, which you can't do on the hardware, and you really like the sound of it, and you really want a Fusion. Would I spend $500 on it? Then I could say, okay, I could see that. You know, if you're going to spend $500 on Ozone 9, I could see doing that. Yeah. I don't think they'll ever be at that price, at least not anytime soon.
Not unless they listen to us.
Right? Yeah. Well, who are we? They don't even know who we are.
Exactly. You know.
But I will say that I think the plugins are really, really good. And like I said in all the other home recording made easy videos, it's really a matter of what you want to do. You can get the same thing with cheaper plugins for sure, but they do sound really good. And if you want that authentic SSL thing in a plugin format, it does a really respectable job. It sounds really close to the hardware. It's not exactly the same as the hardware. But like you said, $1,000, do I save up my money and spend $3,000 on the hardware? Yeah. Again, I would agree with you, but some people would not. That may be too far out of their budget, but I get it. Yeah. So there it is. It's a great, or again, you can get the subscription service at SSL, and you could pay $24 a month or $150 a year. That's how I got it. This is not a sponsored video, but did we say that?
Did we? Yeah. By the way, we're not sponsored.
No,
Moving on.
This is not a sponsored video. I bought these plugins. I have the subscription package, so you get all of the SSL native plugins, including all the Fusion ones. And to me, if you were going to do that, spend $150 a year. You get 5, 6 years, 7 years out of that subscription before you hit the $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you can do that, but you don't own them. If you stop paying your license, you lose your plugin, and some people don't like that. So they give you choices. There's choices here for everybody. But just downright, is it as good as the hardware? I think it's 95% of the way there.
It's close.
It's close.
Honestly, if I was going to put
it's not fully there.
Yeah, this is I think closer to the actual hardware than any other plugins I've ever seen up to this point for myself.
Yeah, it's
they're closer to hardware I think than anything else I've seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I think about there's a couple others that are really close too.
As a one-to-one emulation.
As a one-to-one emulation. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Because this is modeling the actual hardware. The other stuff that we did is a little different. I get it.
As a one-to-one emulation of if you have a Fusion hardware unit and the Fusion plugin, these are, I think, the closest anybody's ever gotten to emulating an actual physical piece of hardware that I've interacted with.
Okay. Yep.
But again, you know, like I said, for the subscription plan, my problem with the subscription plan is, of course, I own almost all this SSL plugins already. So, you know,
so for you, right?
I'm not going to invest into a monthly plan for all of them just to get the Fusion,
just to get the Fusion.
You know, but
right.
But like I said, if honestly, if they put the whole bundle on sale for $200, if the whole bundle was $200, I would buy it in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Because it is good enough.
Because it's close enough to save to not go buy the hardware.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, but for $1,000, I won't do it.
$1,000 to me is way over. I've said that a million times. And again, we love SSL. We're sitting in front of an SSL console. Yep. We got an SSL Fusion. Every SSL doesn't make bad stuff.
No,
they don't make bad stuff. But they make. You know, their stuff is expensive. I mean, go look at their new little Big 6 mixers, and some of those little mixers are $3-4 grand. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of money. But
yes, it is.
You're buying. SSL only makes good stuff. They don't make cheap stuff. They don't make crap. Yeah. So this is not crap. This sounds good. I just think it's overpriced. But there it is. So there's kind of our opinions of the hardware versus the plugins. It's just like with every other piece of hardware we've demoed so far with plugins. To me, the hardware always has that 5% more where I hear more of a dimension thing. But this plugin is really respectable. So it's a matter of what you like and what you don't like and what your budget, what your wallet is willing to give up. So that's the way it is. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Leave comments below and let us know whether you like the hardware or the plugins or what you're hearing on your system. And let us know if you own one of the hardware units or do you own the plugins or both like we do. And let us know what you think below in the comments section. And until the next video, I've been Dave, and he's been Dave with Mixing Music Analog. And make sure you go check out all his links in the description box below, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.
Take care, everybody.